but at the same time, not where we want to put all of our focus. Now, likewise, for me, when I was preparing this, I've spoken to hundreds of groups. I love creating content. I love being in the room with people. I love trying to figure out what it is that brought people to the room, what their questions are, and how we can better engage. But doing the technical part of this and preparing the PowerPoint and doing all the other stuff that went with it made me uncomfortable. And I expressed my anxiety to a colleague, and she said to me, well, why don't you hire somebody to help you? And guess what? Ask for help. And so I did. And so I found Dan. And so Dan has made my life very easy. And that's why we're looking at Tiger Woods right now, correct? Okay. So Tiger Woods is our guy. And he's the guy that we want to use. Yay. We want to use as an example of how do we move from the place of excellence to the place of super excellence, and what we can focus on and what we can do better, how we can help ourselves and delay our anxiety. Ask for help. Ask for help and see what happens. I have the very best people in my back pocket. What I learn is assembling my own board of directors. My board of directors is at least 5 people. Who I want on my board of directors is going to be a mentor, is going to be an advocate or a friend, somebody's shoulder that I can cry on. Somebody who demands accountability, and that means somebody who says they know what you have to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. And somebody who wants to understand what my dream is and help me accomplish my dream. And above all, somebody who's a connector, somebody who can make introductions for me, somebody who can help me move from where I am to where I'd like to be. My board of directors takes me out of my comfort zone. My board of directors is not people who are necessarily known to me at a particular time, because I want to reach out and I want to get more information. I want to be industry neutral, but I want to be out of my industry. I want somebody who has a different perspective who can help feed me. So if I'm in hospital, if I'm in medical care, I probably want somebody who's in technology or financials, somebody who's in banking or somebody who's in tech, somebody who can step in and give me a different perspective. I want to broaden everything. But while I'm in the job search and in this pandemic, it's very uncomfortable. So what happens? Sometimes clients have told me that it feels like they're in a snow globe. It feels like they're being shaken around. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the slide. Is it up, Dan? Here we go. So let's take a look at our snow globe and look at those people. Remember the holidays? This was, you know, when you're a kid and you get a snow globe and you shake it up. And in this snow globe, if you look closely, you can see the people at the bottom and their heads are stuck in the tree because they're feeling either frustrated or so shaken that they don't know which end is up. So clients have described this to me when they say, I really don't know what's happening. I'm very uncomfortable, but it feels like somebody has taken one of those snow globes and they keep shaking it. I can't get traction. I'm not sure what to do next, and it feels like it's not going to settle down. So how can I calm down? How can I go to the next place of being comfortable? An exercise that I highly recommend, and it's something that lots of people say, it seems so simple when you're thinking about a pivot, an exercise that helps to calm everyone down, because when you're in a space of being triggered and you can't think straight and you're so anxious that it feels like everything is closing in, there's a place to go, and that is your place of gratitude. And gratitude takes you away from the flight or fight response of the amygdala. When we engage the frontal part of the brain, it's different. We want our brains to be more relaxed and more open. And as we age, contrary to thought, we can create new pathways. The brain is very plastic. So what we want to do is create a new pathway. And that new pathway is around, how can I create something that's going to calm me down? So in this place of gratitude, and for anyone who doesn't feel comfortable, you don't have to close your eyes. But part of the exercise is to close your eyes, make sure that your feet are planted firmly on the floor so that you can be really stable and connected. And we're going to then look, I'll give you a few minutes, so just get settled in a place. I hope you're not driving. I know that Amy's not driving because I can see that chair. Now, Carolyn, I can't speak for you. You could be motoring along on a motorcycle. I don't know that. But let's assume that you are in a space where you can place your feet on the floor. Take a minute, close your eyes, and think about 3 things that you're grateful for. Just 3 things. You might pop up with more, but just 3 things. And now we'll come back and say, okay, what might those things be? In every program I've ever done, I can tell you that the answers are almost always the same. Family, friends, health. It's not necessarily in that order, but people also add to that pets, job, car, house, white wine. In fact, for some people, they may substitute family in that top 3 for white wine on a given day. And family pops down to number 5 or 6 because you want to put them in the Cuisinart. It's stressful and we get it. But the fact that you can be flexible about it, you can be appreciative. If you have dirty dishes in the sink, we're grateful that we have food. We're grateful that we have a refrigerator to put our food in, that we have running water, that we have electricity, all of those things. But it's too easy to get snagged up in triggered thinking and habits where it takes us from part A to part B, and then we're off to the races. And it's very hard to focus again. So once we are in that space of family, friends, work, health, put it on the dashboard of your car, put it on a Post-it, place it on your mirror, put it on your dashboard, put it on your phone, put it on your screen, put it on your laptop, put it someplace where it's visible so that you can refer to it. When I get triggered, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to look at it and think back, what's going to calm me down? What's going to take me out of this place of I'm nearly hysterical, but how can I get centered again? What am I grateful for? And then I can think more clearly. The craziest thing to come out of 2020 is that there are no more rules. No more rules. Let's keep that up. No more rules. So if I told you, think of it this way, when nothing is certain, anything is possible. If I told you in 2019 that within a year, 70% of office-based businesses would have employees working from home, you would have said she's crazy. If I told you in 2019 that we would all be wearing masks, you would have told me I was even crazier. And if I told you in 2019 that we would not be traveling for business or personal pleasure, you would have told me that I was crazy. So remember this, when nothing is certain, anything is possible. And now it's your time. So what does that look like? Are you entrepreneurial? Are you an employee? For people who are entrepreneurial or thinking about it, you may have had time since we've started the pandemic, and this is, think about the gift of COVID-19. What can you do about it? Well, you can manage, but you can also improve, you can learn, you can soar, you can read, you can experiment, you can look at the things that you're good at and say, maybe I can improve. Is it a musical instrument? Is it a foreign language? Is it dance? Is it walking? Is it making myself healthier? It's not always, and we were talking about this before, it's not always about eating Halloween candy, even though right now they're reporting that the sales of Halloween candy are up exponentially, keeping in mind that we're not going to have trick-or-treaters. So what are we doing with Halloween candy? We're not just looking at it, we're probably eating it. So there's something about how we're taking care of ourselves in COVID-19, and we want to do it in a healthy way. Remember this, it is your time, and you're never too old, and it's never too late. We had a fabulous, fabulous client who began with us when she was in corporate, and she said she wanted to go to medical school. And this is a woman in her 40s, so she's clearly a non-traditional medical school student. Fabulous. So how are you going to do it? Did all the prep work, into medical school, finished, practiced psychiatry. In fact, I used her as an example in my thesis. So beyond that, she was working as a psychiatrist. Now circled back just a couple of years ago and said, you know what? I found this to be interesting and I really enjoy it, but I know that there's more for me. I'm not fulfilled in a way that I'd like to be fulfilled. So I think the seminary, I have a spiritual component that's really calling to me, and the seminary is someplace that I'd really like to go. And don't you know, we worked on it, said, okay, how is this going to fit into your big picture? What do you want to look back at in 20 years and say, I did those things? And off she went to the seminary, and she's, to my knowledge, there and preaching and using all of her skills as a psychiatrist and also her business skills when she was in corporate, so that she had monetized her way to do all of these things. She'd been very frugal in the way she operated in the world. And again, whoever her partner was, keep in mind that she had to cooperate with this. So it was either moving And that's a big deal. You have a partner who is now finding another way to work or not work. There are limitations in their opportunities in everything. So what do we want to look at? What are you curious about? What do you want to learn more about? And I've used this example before because it still makes me laugh. I've been talking about paddleboarding forever. And my husband was just tired of listening to me talking about paddleboarding. I see people paddleboarding. It looks like a good thing to do. It's, you know, you can strengthen your core. How fabulous is that? And there's an area, if anyone's familiar with this, off 128 in the Newton area, and you can see it's Charles River. It is the Charles River. So they have canoes and paddleboards and kayaks and so forth. So he said, we're going to do this. So off we went. This was before COVID. We went down there, we got a paddleboard and get on the paddleboard, and off we go. And people are going by on the paddleboards, and they seem to be talking to each other. And somebody has their little dog on the front of the paddleboard, and everybody's enjoying themselves. And I don't know, then maybe they were drinking wine before they got on the paddleboard. They didn't seem to be working that hard. It didn't look like it was so much exercise, which is kind of what I was interested in. But as it was, and we're paddling and paddling. And finally, I turned to my husband after 15 minutes, and I said, this is bored. This is boring. This is terrible. I don't want to do this anymore. So he said, oh my God, okay, well, all right, here we go. So off we go back. And the kid said, yeah, but you still have time. And I said, I don't care about it. I don't want any more time. He said, well, you know, forget the paddleboard. Why don't we try a kayak? So, you know, we hop in a kayak, and the kayak is low and the road is high. And we said, okay, this is getting really tiresome, but let's try it. Off we go on the kayaks, bored to death, not scared to death, but bored to death, and back we came. So what's the moral of the story, if you will? The learning is, and the kid didn't want to see us, he kept saying, you still have more time. So you can go out, take something else, like take a canoe. Maybe you'll like a canoe. I said, I don't think the water in these you know, vehicles or whatever you want to call them, it's just not working. So let's forget about that for today. But what did I learn from that? I tried it. I didn't look like a superstar. In fact, I looked like I was, I won't say struggling, but I knew that this wasn't something that I want to learn more about. What I do suggest to clients, and I broke my own suggestion, usually I will say, try something 3 times. So let's say it's ice skating. Put the skates on, you have no expectations. Same thing with golf or skiing or another sport. Try it. See if it's something that you even remotely like. Second time you try it, you'll have a better sense of where you belong in this, whether you say, oh, I really like the clothes, but I really don't like the sport. I don't want to be too cold. I don't want to be too, whatever. Then the third time you'll say, okay, either I get it or I don't get it. Don't want to do it. Same thing. And Dan has all these instruments in his background. How many people say, I want to learn to play the guitar, but I don't want to buy a guitar? You can find some place, and my children did this. Yay, when they were kids, I said, let's do a rental on this and let's see if that works. And fortunately, this music instructor had a good idea, and that's what he did, a rental. So tried it with one child, and I said, you know what, this isn't the hill I want to die on, but at least we were curious about it. At least we tried it. Trying something different gives you an opportunity to have a conversation with different people. It gives you an opportunity to try something and improve your skill set and to add something to your bigger picture. In fact, when you're thinking about kicking something to the curb or trying a change, it really does take another part of your brain to engage. We also had a terrific client. He couldn't close. He was a chief financial officer. He was going on interviews. He couldn't close, and it was disappointing. Had to revisit this. Couldn't go out on the interview with him, but it would have probably been okay if we could have been a fly on the wall to see what was happening. So finally we said, look, what did you like to do when you were in school? And he said he was a runner. When he was in college, he was a runner. I don't know what that means. It can mean many things to different people. But off he said, I have to get special sneakers. Okay, well, running has like a really pretty flat curve as far as, learning curve. Put sneakers on, go out the door, and off you can go to run. Or you can go to the local high school. You can find a place that you can run. It's not that big a deal. You don't need a fabulous bicycle. You don't need equipment. But he needed special sneakers. So off he went to Marathon Sports. Marathon Sports, fabulous place. They fitted him, did a great job. And in the course of getting fitted, excuse me, in his conversation, they said, why don't you join a running club? Oh, he said, a running club? That's interesting, but I don't know how I'll see my running club. I might be embarrassed. But he did join the running club and ultimately met a lot of people that he wouldn't have met otherwise. So what do you think happened? Just a guess. He met different people who also knew about other jobs that were available. So in the other jobs that were available, he had multiple interviews and ultimately he landed a job. So think about this. If you're still hanging around with the same people that you always hang around with, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, unless you're the instructor. If you're on the wrong bus, get off the bus. It's time. We're not trees. We can move. We don't necessarily have to relocate really far, but we can move and we can make changes. We can look foolish to who? To ourselves. Nobody's watching you. If you're at a dinner dance or you're at a wedding and you don't dance, guess what? Unless you're a professional dancer, nobody cares. You just want to get out there, entertain, right? You want to have fun, right, Jen? Jen's thinking, I know those people. I know those people that sit at the table the whole night and they don't budge except to get another drink. No, Dan's saying the same thing. No, tell me that you dance. Because again, unless you're fabulous, nobody cares. And you want to have fun. And that's part of being an adult. You can say no, but you can also say yes. And the more things you say yes to, you'll ultimately continue to say more yeses. Now, we are also a combination of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. Let's not forget that. Who are you hanging around with? Who do you spend your time with? Are they pluses? Are they minuses? Is it the same group of people? People that you want to go out and have wine with, or coffee with, or dinner with, or call, same conversation. How can you shake it up? How can you make it different? How can you improve it? Stop spinning your wheels. Next slide. Here we go. Here we go. Stop spinning your wheels and begin with a plan. So, big question in the job search, and it's no picnic in COVID-19. It really isn't. It's different. How are you doing it differently? Are you returning to a career you trained for, or is it something entirely new? Believe it or not, there is a fabulous website. It's a US government website. You can go on the site and put in any job description that you like. So whether you want to be an architect or an astronaut, doesn't matter. Pop it in. It will give you a lot of information. And the information it will begin with is salary range. Areas of the country where you're most likely to be employed. So for example, if you decide that the energy industry is a perfect match for you and you live in New England, it is very likely that you're going to have to relocate. And for some people, relocation is perfect. It will give you a detailed description of everything about the job. Whether this is an industry that is trending or whether it's flat, what the requirements are in terms of education. Do you need certificates? Do you need a license? Do you need an advanced degree? Is it something you can do online? Is it something you can do part-time? Many things that you can find online right now, and I know unfortunately you don't have the same access to the library that you did before, if that's a question. I know Jen feels terrible about this, but again, there are limitations. And she did say that there's a laptop program for bringing them outside the library. So there are ways that you can manage if you have issues around getting online. If you need more training, what's required? Can you update skills? And most important, is this a career that you want to return to? Sometimes the square peg in the round hole is not the direction that you want to take. We had a client yesterday who'd been in healthcare, and she's highly credentialed. She's in the Michigan area. And in the Michigan area, because of the major car manufacturers, they have a very robust healthcare system for assisted living and managed care. So that she's worked with seniors and families for many years and was trying to find her company was sold, and she was trying to get back into the industry until finally we said, truly, is this a place where you want to be? Are you looking for a job right now, or is there something else that you can tap into? How entrepreneurial are you? And in her case, she's looking at being a consultant. And what will that take? Well, the reality is sometimes all it takes is one client, and you can be the bridge person. With respect to jobs, if there's a job that you happen to take that's not the ideal job, it doesn't check all the boxes, that's okay. It's like leaving a bad relationship. You could be on the rebound, and this could be your rebound job, or think of it as your bridge job, something that can take you from A to B. If it's a new industry, it's an entry-level position that can compensate you. Sometimes it's the good enough job. And the good enough job is the job that gives you the benefits that you need, which may be retirement, certainly salary coming in, insurance, And for some people, it's really important to have an anchor, a place to go where you can collaborate with other people. How our self-image has been impacted by being isolated, not interacting in the same ways that we're accustomed to. It's a big change. And we want to be empathetic to people who are in that space. And you can always quit your job. It doesn't have to be the great fit. And it doesn't have to appear on your resume either. So thinking about big picture, do you need a certificate or an advanced degree? Can you do the job full-time, part-time, online? Is remote work something for you? Is it a combination of the two? Informational interviewing with people already in the field, very important. Identify someone who is doing the thing that you think you would like to do and ask for 15 or 20 minutes of their time. For the most part, because people are not traveling now for business or for pleasure, most people in the real world, most of the time, are more than willing to say, yeah, give me a call, we can talk. But you need to be prepared with questions. What does this person like most about their work and least about their work? Is this a career path that they would choose again? And is it something that you would choose or at least advise someone else to do? A good example for this is my father-in-law, who is long passed away, but he was a pharmacist. And when he went to pharmacy school, it was a 3-year program, and he was a professional when he finished. He was also very entrepreneurial and had his own drugstore. He highly recommended this, and his nephew at the time said, this looks like a great profession. But as his nephew was entering the world of pharmacy, things were changing. Insurance companies then took a big chunk out of the whole business model. And his nephew was really unhappy with the choice that he made. So if you look at pharmacists now, there are many ways that they can approach pharmacy, but it's certainly not the same thing as it was 50 years ago. Things change. Professions change. Career paths change. Teaching is different now than it was before. So for informational interviewing, ask the questions and be prepared. Ask the person, what does a typical day look like? And think, is this something that I can see myself doing? We had a client who was very determined to work for the Boston Symphony in some capacity, and she wanted to get a master's degree in development. So she did arrange an informational interview, and we said, go for it, it's fabulous, with the person who was in development at the Boston Symphony at the time. And after she finished, and the person was very generous and gave her a real chunk of time, she said, that's nothing I ever want to do again. All I did was dial for dollars all day. It was about grant writing. It was about tapping into wealthy donors. And I felt that I was asking and pleading all day long for an opportunity to speak, for money, for their retirement plan to make donations, for their to be part of their wills, trusts, and estates. It just wasn't a good fit for me. So it didn't mean that we derailed her plan to go to graduate school, but it was important to look at what was next. For somebody who wants to go to graduate school and they're very specific and say, again, master's degree in social work is for me, you say, okay, what is the opportunity for you as a social worker? We're not popping needles in anybody's balloon. Everybody's balloon is terrific. And we want to help people explore how they got to that place. So what does it take to be there? How much is tuition? How long does it take to train? And what is your salary going to be at the end of the day? Do the research and track your activities. Make sure you have a spreadsheet, because guess what? Time evaporates. Today may be Thursday, but if we turn around in a blink, 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 it's Monday, and oops, what happened? Weather is good. We're sort of, cosseted right now, lulled into, it's not really the end of summer, so it's not really, it's September, but it's almost, guess what? October's next week. So think about it, tracking activities and creating a spreadsheet. Update your resume. Want to make sure your resume is up to date. LinkedIn profile. Everyone tell me, yay, I have a LinkedIn profile. Yay, my LinkedIn profile is up to date. Doesn't matter what you've been doing. I want to make sure that it is up to date. Up to date means your resume, your LinkedIn profile, congruent. They're a nice mirror match. So if I look online, and I was online with a recruiter yesterday, she said she spends 5 hours every day, 5 hours every day on LinkedIn looking for candidates, 7 days a week. So think about that. She's looking for candidates, and if her candidates don't reply to her within 24 hours, as she said to me in a very polite way, they're dead to me. So think about that also. You have to be responsive, and just applying for jobs and doing it online. The tracking system is going to kick your resume out unless somebody is handing it in, somebody you have a connection with, somebody who can make an introduction for you. It's just going to go. If you're getting 200 resumes a day, imagine what the recruiters or the HR people are doing. They have to scan everything very quickly, but it had to go through the tracking system first before it even gets to them. Make sure it's updated. Make sure your headshot is current. So it doesn't mean you have to go to a studio and have it done, but it does mean that it has to be professional in image. It has to be reflective of the profession you're pursuing. If you're in the creative arts, you can be a little more casual, but for the most part, you want this to be a reflection of who you are, not somebody who was at a wedding and had it kind of cut off, or, I'm not 100% sure, or there's my dog. This is not Facebook, people. This is a professional site. And for anyone who's thinking about Facebook, the other thing we tell people, guess what? I can find out anything about you on Facebook. So be very careful about what you post. And for some people, it's really shut it down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you've set it up so that no one can see. Anyone can see it. Anybody who knows what they're doing can look at what's on Facebook about you. And establish a timeline. Timelines are important. Time evaporates. We don't want to be in that place where time evaporates. And guess what? We stop spinning our wheels. We're beginning with a plan. What's next? You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Zig Ziglar, fabulous sales guy. What's your version of your future? Do you have an open or closed mindset? That simply means, am I open to learning? Do I think that I can learn? Do I think that I can learn new skills? Absolutely 100%, yes, you can. The brain is very plastic. It may take us longer to get back into study mode. Just remember, you're probably not in college now, probably not in that space, but you can learn. You may have to learn differently. And look at all the resources that are available to us. The library is a tremendous resource, and you can call on the library, the librarians who are skilled in helping you find information if you can't access something online. Do you think that the possibilities in your life are exciting, that they're limited? And describe your dream job. Take time, describe your dream job from the moment you start your day to the end of your day. What does it look like? What am I going to kick my heels up about that I'm going to want to do? The other part of this is, let's not think that everybody has a dream job, but we want to describe your dream job. Not everybody is rushing out the door, but we would like you to be able to rush out the door. It's entirely possible, again, to have the good enough job that satisfies a lot of your needs. So don't kick anything to the curb. Let's not be judgmental, and let's be empathetic. Understanding people are all going through stressful times right now, but some people are succeeding immensely. We've had candidates who are, and we're not recruiters, but we prepare our clients for prime time, if you will. We help package them with all of these pieces so that they're prepared to go out and make the interview. Be prepared for salary negotiation. Say it 3 times fast. Interview preparation is different on Zoom. How do I look? In fact, more plastic surgeons are busy right now because people are getting scared about how they look on Zoom. And make sure that when you're on Zoom, if you're on any kind of call, that you're prepared, that you're dressed appropriately, that the dog is put away, that you don't have deliveries, the doorbell's not ringing, that you're completely and 100% focused on what you're doing. Interview skills would be something we could take up at a different time, but right now let's look at prioritizing and following your timeline. What are your financial resources? Do you have space to experiment? Do you need to do something pretty quickly? And again, are we talking about food on the table or selling our 3rd house in Nantucket? Very different conversations. How important is your timeline? Give yourself some space, but be realistic. You don't want to be in panic mode when you're in the job search. Do you have childcare issues? Family care needs. Some people can only work given a certain radius. They can't have a long commute. It's not possible. They may need to work 2nd shift or 3rd shift. They may need to be creative and or very specific about working remotely. Working remotely is not for everybody. Most of us need some human contact. And it's not like you can pick up your laptop and go to Starbucks right now. That's not a possibility. But there are still outdoor cafes until the weather is changing, but take advantage of what we can at the moment. Think about what your deal breakers are. Can you commute? Do you have remote work that you can do? For some people, a commute more than 7 minutes is a deal breaker. For other people, an hour and a half, not a big deal. So on your resume, what we recommend is not including your home address for security reasons anyway. But let's say in the greater Boston area, if you say that you live in Danvers, I may make the assumption if this job is in Quincy that you'll never go for it, or you may last for a month or 2 months. But I also don't know that maybe there's a relative that lives there, or that you were planning to move to the South Shore. So before your resume is kicked to the curb because somebody saw Danvers and made an assumption, well, he or she won't go to New Hampshire, he or she won't go south or west because they've been burned before and they get it, you want to omit that. And also make sure that you're hopping to resume, just a quickie, make sure that your email address is, I love Gmail, Gmail's about it. Make sure that it is a nice, clean address that's not confusing. We don't need dots, we don't need dashes, we don't need asterisks, we don't need any symbols, we don't need anything cute. We just want a straight up Jane B. Scott at gmail.com, assuming that you're the only Jane B. Scott, but it'll get kicked out if indeed you're not. Now we're going to go to 20 years. See, this is enough to make you crazy. Until this point, we're thinking about make decisions now that will impress your friends in 20 years. So why is that important? Why do we care about our friends? Well, first of all, we hope everybody is alive, well, and healthy, but it's not so likely that most of the friends and people in your world are going to be the same people that are in your world as they are right now. Your future self is a very different person. Think about that. Are you the same person now that you were 20 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago? Well, we hope that there has been personal and professional growth. The worst thing you can do is assume that who you are now is who you're going to be in 20 years. Think about that. I don't want to be the same person in 20 years. I want to know that I've learned new skills, I've met new people, I'm doing things that are exciting, that I got a great tech guy in my back pocket so he can do my slides and I don't have to worry about it. And he can help me with the things where I feel, again, it's not like I have crutches that I'm running around with, but I want to be able to get resources in my pocket so I know I can point here, I can point there, and I can say, I know the right people to call who can help me get from point A to point B. Who do you want to be in 20 years? At 30, at 40, at 50, hopefully, knock on wood, given that health is here, we're all going to be there, and you may be with or without that degree, that certificate, that training, that knowledge, trying something new. It's really important. There's a writer at the Wall Street Journal, and Schellenbach. She's fabulous. She had a major midlife crisis and wrote a book pretty much about a midlife crisis. But what she did learn is that women in their 40s in particular, who have exponential growth personally and professionally, are women that did something that was scary to them physically. That doesn't mean doing something that's extremely dangerous, but in her case, she probably made some bad choices with the motorcycle that she bought and the rides that she took. But aside from that, there are things that you can do that are different and are impactful. I took a ropes course in my 40s and I was terrified. It was part of a leadership program. It was a deal breaker for me. I thought, I don't know how I'm going to survive this. But the reality was that as scared as I was, I remember every minute of that. I remember the belay team. I remember the support. I remember shaking. I remember being so terrified that I could barely breathe. And I remember the people that were there and cheering me on. I remember how I felt before. I remember how I felt during it. And I remember how I felt afterwards. And if you talk about being proud as a peacock, it was, if you could have given me a gold star, I mean, whatever they did, I don't know, we probably went to drink or something. I don't care. I can't tell you exactly because that part of it was a blur. But everybody got through it. Everybody got everyone in that group through it, and we all succeeded. Now, did we get, again, the Russian ice skating judge with a 10? No way, Jose. I mean, some people did. They scampered across and they were happy going from, tree to tree and zipping along. But for most of us, it was a really incredibly difficult experience, very challenging. And if I had to do it again, I don't know. I don't know if I have to, because I can hold that tightly and know that I did it and I was successful. What decisions are you making now to ensure that you will be that person in 20 years? Who are you hanging around with? I'm telling you right now, start bringing different people into your world, into your intimate world. Absolutely. You want new people, you want new voices, you want new intake. How can you help somebody else? How can you do volunteer work? It certainly was much easier, pre-COVID, where you could make those decisions, but you can also identify organizations that you'd like to align with now, so that in the future you might be able to do something that's more in person. The clearer you are about your future, the more intentional you can be in the present. Everything you do now is building towards the future. Think about a retirement account. Those dollars and cents you put away, it's going to, we don't necessarily hold on to it right now. We say, let me pocket that, let me put it away, let me forget about it for now, because I know it's going to serve me in the future. And lastly, now we're coming to it, drum roll, we're up to the happiness habit. Like the best thing that I could possibly do. I love it, love it, love it. Read a book about it and said to my husband, we're going to do this. We're going to do this, darn it. There's not going to be anything negative that we talk about at the conclusion of the day. It's only happiness. So this is what you do. And it has to be boom, boom, boom. Every day it really does become a habit. State 3 things that happened in your day, happy things that happened in your day. Share it with somebody. So if you don't have a partner, if you don't have anybody in your house, you can share it with the dog. The dog's probably happy to hear more about it. And write it down. If there's not somebody there, where somebody you can call or somebody you can text, but it really is, it's an amazing experience. And when I started, I said, oh, this feels good, but now I can really get it and say it absolutely has an impact. So again, state 3 great things that happen in the course of the day, share it with somebody, record it, and review it at the end of the week or month. And what you feel is such a difference than, I woke up late, I missed this, I did this. We all know our brains go to what we don't like, what we're not good at. If I ask clients what they're looking at, that's, what don't they want to do, they can tell you everything that they don't want to do again in their next job, ever, ever, ever. But when you ask about what's your dream job, what do you want to do? What does the next 20 years look like for you? You're in charge of so much of this. And when we dismiss the power that we have and we hand it off to somebody else, it puts us in a hole. And we don't want to live in that hole. We don't want to have to crawl out of that hole. We want to take ownership for the great things that happened to us. And guess what? If the happy things that happened really aren't impressing you too much, change it up. And tomorrow, make sure that you focus on those things that will create happiness for you or for somebody else. Thank you. And lastly, here we go. Working with a coach like me or another coach, we work with clients and we help them accelerate their growth. So please feel free. There is an exercise that's attached, as we were mentioned in the beginning. It's attached in the chat room so that you can pull it up and look at it. Areas of interest. Again, these are important. It's time to do some self-examination so that you can have some fun with it. Everything isn't deadly serious. There are enough things that we have to weep about. There are enough things that we have to be serious about. There are enough things that we really don't have the power to change the thing, but we do have the power to change how we're going to interact with it, how we're going to be with ourselves, how we're going to manage the job search, which is serious business. So now, if there are any questions, has anybody posted anything? I'd love to hear from Jen, our expert.
Nothing in the chat just yet.
Okay, well, think about it. If there's something that I may have missed or something that you'd like to ask a question about, how you can improve your job search. The recruiters that I was talking to yesterday said that according to Keystone, and Keystone is a search group, they're suggesting that it takes a lot, like 150 touches before you land a job. Now, is that discouraging or is that a motivator? Well, you get to choose. How do you want to start with that? Your LinkedIn profile, you should be adding 3 to 4 different people every week on LinkedIn. That's another great job search strategy. And connecting with them. Start connecting with groups. A touch can mean, well, it doesn't mean a touch in time. It can be a personal touch, which is coffee, if somebody is available to do that. There we go. A touch in time can mean meeting in person, again, but we have some space. An opportunity to learn more about that person, how you can help them. It's not always a one-way street. And the more it becomes a two-way street, how can I help you? How can I make a referral to you? Who in your world or who in my world is somebody that you could make use of? Is it important? I mean, from anything from painting your house to, gee, I need a new chief financial officer, and what will that look like? Understand what your deal breakers are, understand what's really getting in the way. And sometimes the deal breakers that we choose are the things that we hang on to, that we decide are deal breakers, when in fact we can work around them. So, for example, I had a number of chief financial officers working at one time. They seem to hop on. It kind of comes in groups. Or marketing people. It just kind of shifts up and changes. When I was doing a program, and there were 4 people in the room who had come from marketing, and they had full-time gigs in marketing. So they were looking at finding full-time gigs in marketing again. So I said, again, is this like rinse and repeat? Is this do you want to be here in another year having the same conversation? And the answer is probably no. So let's look at marketing and how it fits into the new world of work. And if people think that everything's going to go away and revert to what it was before, not happening that way. So what's the opportunity for you? What are the industries that are thriving and surviving? What companies are doing work that you're interested in? Who can you have a conversation with? Because it's something, gee, I don't know, it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but let me try it. Now for women, another part of this is that if there are job requirements that are listed, if we're not at like 100%, we don't apply for the job. 60%, maybe apply for the job, but overwhelmingly, 60% is really a number that's reasonable. There was a guy that was applying for something in marketing, but it had a foreign component to it. And his experience in marketing and foreign component was he drove a foreign car. So there's something about, being gutsy, being, maybe overthinking a little bit, but apply for the job, ask the question, ask for the introduction. Most people want to help. Most people are going to be in a position to improve whoever they are in their place of business by offering up a candidate who's a rock solid candidate. So don't kid yourself and think, oh, I don't have anything to offer. Indeed you do, but it's having the conversation and feeling you can ask for help. I'm interested in fill in the blanks. Changing fields, okay. Well, in answer to Amy's question, one of the things that you can, I hope she comes back, but one of the things that you can do if you're changing industries, where you're changing your focus and going from technical to customer service, for example, you want to be able to demonstrate that you've been doing something that supports customer service. So what does that look like? And the wonderful opportunity during this pandemic has been that you can demonstrate you were improving your skills. You were doing something that shows that you were interested in, whether it's doing pro bono work or taking a course so that you're doing some other computer work that is relevant to the industry that you're in, that makes you a more formidable candidate. But again, it's applying to jobs that are just blind applications. Truly, it feels like it's busy work. They generally don't go anywhere. It's most important, if the more contacts that you have, the more introductions that you can make for yourself, the more involved you are on LinkedIn with companies. Identify companies that you'd like to work for. For example, if you're in the local Boston area, I'm assuming that we are close to that, the 4 foundations for economics, the economic drivers in Boston, are going to be higher ed, financials, medical, and tech. Those are broad. Those are really, really broad. So again, as I said, if you decide that there's something that's completely out of the realm of where the financial drivers are, you may have to look elsewhere. If you're looking for a small company, if you're looking for a large company, do you want something that is very hierarchical? Do you like to work independently, or is remote work something that's ideal for you? It's really identifying where your skill set is in the intersection of your skill set and what's out in the market. There are certainly, I mean, you can go online all day and look at jobs and see what the postings are. But best way to do it is identify companies, identify at least 5 companies that you'd like to work for or with, and then start interacting with people on LinkedIn who are part of that company. Work those connections. Go back to your college cohort, your alumni groups. Lots of people are in the job market now, but lots of people are also getting hired. So whatever you can do to promote an introduction to somebody else who can then make an introduction to somebody else, they just need to know what it is you're looking for and how they can help you. That's really the best advice I have for anyone. If you're changing industries, it's not as if you can be Peter Pan and just show up and say, you know, oh, and I'm not minimizing this because it's real. Ageism is real, sexism is real, HIPAA violations are real. These are all real concerns. This is nothing to sneeze at. It's absolutely true in the job market, which is one of the reasons that people have become very entrepreneurial and partner with other people, or look at franchising, or look at buying a business. I don't recommend buying a gym right now, for example, but you know, there are ways that you can look at partnering with somebody who is, you know, the black and white side, the bookends, the other things that you don't have going forward that somebody else can supply. Look back at people that you worked with previously, managers that you work with, people that are in your industry who are doing the thing that you would like to do, and start following them on LinkedIn. Start commenting if they're making points, if they're publishing articles, if they have anything online. Join those groups that they're affiliated with. So for example, in the real world, when we were still doing face-to-face, and you identified a company or an organization where you wanted to do volunteer work. What you don't want to do, you want to contribute, but it's very easy to pigeonhole anybody to take care of scut work that nobody else wants to do. And so you're in the back of the room, doesn't, you know, there it goes away. What you want to do is be on the membership committee, or you want to be on the greeting committee. So you can maximize the number of people that you are introduced to and make connections with. Okay, here's Carolyn. If someone doesn't have a college degree, does it diminish your chances? No, I mean, it depends on what it is. So have you identified the kind of work that you would like to do? And if there's a certificate that you might need that's going to say, how is Carolyn differentiating herself from Jane or Joe or whoever? That's a big difference. Can you do something part-time? And lots of things you can find out about are online and they're free, Carolyn. So do you have, you know, again, a college degree is not absolutely necessary. I would say not. But again, it depends on the market. You know, if you show up in, you know, your pajamas and you write code, they don't care what you look like because you fill the job that they want to fill. But in general, you need to have something that you can put forward and say, here's my skill set, and this is how I feel. Hey, Amy, welcome back. Yay! And this is how, yay! And we can hear you. Is that it? Yay! Even better. So so Carolyn, I hope that helped a little bit. It doesn't diminish your chances of finding a high-paying job. Does it diminish your chances of finding a job at all? Go on that website, o*net.org, and that's, again, the US government website, and pop in those things that you're interested in, whether it's, again, we said architect or astronaut, it doesn't matter. It'll tell you, if you're a floral designer, you know, what do you need to do to get to be this, or a dietitian, or anything. So we want to be an LPN, find out how you can do it. Lots of things you can do part-time. There's, what's the school? In fact, you know, look, if you wanted to go to law school, and I don't know that I would recommend that right now, but if that was something that was your yearning, burning desire to do, the Mass College of Law is in Andover, and you don't have to take LSATs for that. So, and it's much less expensive than traditional law school. So there are lots of ways you can do lots of things. How are we on time? Are we good? We're good. Any other questions? Let's see. We've got I think we're good. And there was a takeaway, so look at that. Do your dream job. Make sure you have some fun with it, because you know, people, again, clients will tell me all the time, I know what I hate. They say, well, that's old story. We know what you hate, so what? We got it. You don't have to do that anymore. I can be your fairy godmother and tell you you don't have to do that anymore. You can also quit the job. You can, again, we make these rules for ourselves. How many people in your world, probably you included, start reading a book and you don't finish it even though you don't like the book? Librarians, you know this, Jen. There's like something in our brains that says, I have to finish this book. And the most freeing thing ever is to put the book down and say, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. I don't have to do it. Then that's great. And I would say that not just to, a 13-year-old who doesn't want to do the actual work, but the adult who's saying, I get to make choices, I get to be empowered, and I get to have the conversation. So again, Amy, for you, it's important to get in the door. And once you get in the door, you get to sell yourself. And that's your opportunity. You get to brag about yourself. You get to brag about your skills, not in a way that's offensive, but in a way that you have to script it out. So you have to supply people. You want to spoon feed them. There's a pain-gain relationship here. They have a pain. They need to fill that pain with a gain. They need to hire somebody who they can see is going to be a fit for culture, is going to be a fit for the work that needs to be done, that they can get along with the people, that this is an okay spot to be. And from your perspective, it doesn't have to be the 20-year job, but we want to think about 20 years in the future. What do you want to look back at and say, yay, hooray, I did this? You can do it. You can do it. Job change is not impossible at all, especially with your background. Anything else, Carolyn? No questions. We did that. Okay. And also Southern New Hampshire University, they have a very flexible schedule. So if you're looking at any kinds of training there, and also community colleges. So if you identify an area where they are doing skill training, whether it's LPN, it could be, I don't know the range right now in the community colleges because I think they're over enrolled. From what I'm hearing, a lot of the classes are closed because of young people who have not gone away to pay $65,000 a year to work remotely in a dormitory in a different state. So the community colleges are pretty over enrolled, but they have great certificate programs and anything you can do short term. And I also want to say to anybody who's in the job search, you have to get out of the house every day. Absolutely have to get out of the house. You have to do something physical and get out of the house. You have to be around different people, even though it's woo, we have to be away from each other, but you have to be in a different place. Have a conversation with a different person. If you keep talking to the same people, A, it's depressing, and B, you're not going to learn anything. What are you going to learn? That's more of the same. I mean, it's boring. It is. It's boring. So you want to learn and you want to meet new people. And there are lots of ways that you can do Zoom calls with people that you don't know that are associated with in organizations that you'd like to belong to. But do that. 5 companies you'd like to work for and start there. I think we covered it. I don't see any more questions, so I think we're good. Jen, anything that you'd like to close with or?
Parting thoughts. Just one thing I might add. Please get in touch with us if you are looking for help with library resources that can help in the job search. There's plenty of them. One in particular is called A to Z databases, and it's a really great way to look for jobs and to research the companies that you want to work for. They can be found from our website, danverslibrary.org. But please give us a call during the week or email us. The website has the address if you need some help getting familiar with those resources.
That sounds wonderful. Any resource that you can use it and get out of the house every day. It's a good idea to have a schedule, incorporate exercise into whatever you're doing. I don't care if you have to, walk a mile to get a cup of coffee, get on a bike, go someplace. If it's not a gym, which is very sad, but that's a whole other conversation. And do something different. The fall, a different opportunity. So clubs like the Appalachian Club are still active. They have hikes and walks and so forth, so you can look online and see. And the more people that you meet who are not doing the same thing that you've done, and, oh, I love this, I missed that, the library lends out guitars. Isn't that fabulous? That's wonderful. And there we go.
All kinds of things.
And oh, that's wonderful. So exciting. Laptops on the lawn every Tuesday. How fabulous is that? So you get to be around other people. And the other thing is you don't want to hang around with a whole bunch of people who are in the job search all the time. because they'll keep telling you the same story. It's important to connect that way because some people will have leads at companies that they know of that are hiring, but a lot of stuff, the reality, Amy, is that you're probably going to find something in-house. Okay. Well, I guess then thank you for coming. Please reach out if there's anything that I can help with. We do work with clients around their resumes, CVs, how to prep them for job interviews, salary negotiation, interview prep, all of those pieces. So happy to do that. And you can learn more from our website about the services that we offer. So this has been great. Dan, my favorite man, thank you so much. Great job. And Jen, thank you for inviting me. Happy
For
to
coming.
contribute.
This was a really wonderful program.
Well, I'm very happy that we could do it. So
Kickstart
together,
Your Transition. That's the name of the company.
yes, Kickstart Your Transition. That's it. So good night, everybody. Have a good one.